Have you ever been crushed by a heavy object? I believe many of you have experienced the feeling of being weighed down and unable to breathe. But what if you were pinned to the ground by someone weighing hundreds of pounds, unable to move? Today, we're going to tell a very tragic story. A 10-year-old boy, due to family changes, was shuffled between multiple foster homes. Little did he know that just as he felt happiness was about to arrive, reality would crush him like a mountain. And this time, the little boy never got up again. Ultimately, this mountain sparked huge controversy among the public due to strange accusations. Dakota Stevens was born on October 21, 2013. He was a smart, curious child with an IQ close to 130, far above the average level for his age. He loved nature and enjoyed searching for insects, snails, mushrooms, and more outdoors. Additionally, he was very interested in mechanics and science, enjoying dismantling and assembling things, demonstrating strong hands-on skills and a spirit of exploration. But fate is unpredictable. Dakota's biological father passed away in 2021 due to family changes. His mother subsequently relinquished custody of him and his sister. After that, the siblings were taken over by the Indiana Department of Child Services (DCS). The Indiana DCS is a government agency in the state responsible for child welfare and family services, dedicated to protecting children from abuse and neglect and providing knowledge and services for family rearing. The agency also has a foster care service, which involves foster families cooperating with the agency, provided that the foster family is approved by the DCS to ensure they have sufficient qualifications to provide children with safety and care in terms of physical and emotional well-being, while also meeting the children's basic needs, including food, clothing, medical care, and education. Within a few years, Dakota had been moved between multiple foster homes. He experienced frequent relocations and environmental changes. Before this, he lived in the home of his foster father, Hertel. Under the care of his foster father, Dakota attended an elementary school in Hamd and received psychological treatment to cope with early traumatic experiences. Herzl tried twice to permanently adopt Dakota, but due to the complexity of legal and administrative procedures, he was ultimately unsuccessful. Thus, Dakota's life was filled with uncertainty and challenges. He went back and forth between multiple foster homes until the appearance of this woman. Jennifer Wilson is 48 years old and resides in Valparaiso, Indiana. She is 5 meters tall, but weighs 154 kg. On April 25, 2024, the Porter County Sheriff's Office in Indiana received a call reporting that a 10-year-old boy had lost consciousness in his home in Valparaiso. When paramedics arrived at the scene, they found obvious bruises on the child's neck and chest, and he had no breathing or pulse. He was then rushed to the hospital but died 2 days later. The autopsy report showed that his cause of death was mechanical asphyxia, and the manner of death was determined to be homicide. This boy was Dakota. According to Wilson's confession, she pinned Dakota to the ground for misbehavior and restrained him with her body for several minutes. Police retrieved doorbell camera footage showing Wilson's body pressing on Dakota's head and neck area. The child screamed constantly in pain, but Wilson suspected he was faking his death until she noticed the child's eyelids were pale, at which point she rolled him over and began CPR. According to investigations, Dakota weighed only 41 kg, less than 1/3 of Wilson's weight. Moreover, about 30 minutes before the incident, Dakota had run to a neighbor's house seeking help, requesting the neighbor to adopt him. The neighbor stated that the child said, "They won't let me call the social worker," but the child did not show any strange symptoms at the time, so the neighbor did not take it seriously. On July 13, 2024, Wilson was arrested in Berrien County, Michigan, and extradited back to Indiana for trial. In October 2024, she pleaded guilty in court to the charge of reckless homicide. On January 17, 2025, she was sentenced to 6 years in prison, with 1 year suspended and the remaining 5 years to be served in the Indiana Department of Correction. At the sentencing hearing, Wilson expressed remorse to the judge and admitted that her actions led to Dakota's death. She stated, "I am deeply saddened and willing to take responsibility for my actions, but I can never make up for the harm caused to this family." However, Dakota's family expressed great disappointment with the court's verdict, believing that the 6-year sentence was insufficient to reflect the seriousness of the case. They expressed their dissatisfaction with the justice system outside the court. The case also sparked widespread discussion on social media and in news reports. Many members of the public expressed anger at Wilson's sentence, considering the verdict too lenient. More than 5,900 people even signed a petition demanding that Wilson's charges be upgraded to more serious crimes, such as manslaughter or murder. Additionally, the role of the Indiana Department of Child Services (DCS) in the case has also been questioned. The public believes that the DCS has loopholes in screening foster families and supervision, failing to promptly detect and address potential abuse. So why was Wilson sentenced to only 6 years in prison? This is mainly because she was charged with and pleaded guilty to reckless homicide, rather than a more serious charge. Under Indiana law, reckless homicide is a level 5 felony, with a statutory maximum sentence of 6 years. Although Wilson's actions led to the death of 10-year-old Dakota, according to the investigation, the police lacked a clear motive for the killing, and there was no direct evidence to show that Wilson had premeditated or intended to kill. In addition, Wilson had no prior criminal record and voluntarily pleaded guilty during the trial to show remorse, so the judge ultimately sentenced her to only 6 years in prison. However, this verdict still sparked widespread public discussion about the legal system and foster care system. In particular, the public generally questioned the DCS's obvious shortcomings in reviewing the background of foster mothers and conducting regular home visits. According to investigations, the basic requirements for the DCS to screen foster mothers include being at least 21 years of age, having a stable income and not relying on public assistance, having no felony criminal record in the family, having sufficient space in the residence, with each foster child having at least a separate bedroom and 50 square feet of personal space. And foster parents must also have a valid driver's license and reliable transportation. In addition, they must pass the state-mandated foster parent pre-training and background checks. However, Indiana does not set any rigid restrictions on the physical and mental health of foster parents in its review process. After this incident, current regulations emphasize that the physical health of foster parents must meet the basic requirements for caring for children. If there are health problems, the authorities may require them to undergo additional physical examinations or psychological evaluations. On May 6, 2024, Dakota's funeral was held as scheduled. Mourners recalled his creativity and kindness. His coffin was placed under a huge inflatable shark, symbolizing his love for sharks. Wilson's foster care license was suspended after the incident and formally revoked by the DCS on June 30, 2024. Dakota's family also hopes to promote legislative reform through a law named after Dakota, not only seeking justice for him, but also striving for a safer future for other foster children. Well, that's all for this episode. What are your thoughts on Dakota's death? Feel free to leave a comment below. If you think the video is well made, don't forget to like, favorite, and share.